Is there anything in life that causes more problems than money? Well, I mean, obviously, yes, but not that many. So it shouldn't be a surprise that in a relationship, money and spending is a huge problem. Now, generally what happens, and this is the root of most, if not all, money problems in a relationship, is one person is spending more than the other is comfortable with. Now, I've been on both sides of this. I've been a primary wage earner, and I have been the one to bring all the money into the family, and I've had situations where my partner was spending more than I liked. Now I'm in the opposite situation where my partner is earning all the money for the family. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I earn nothing. And I have to be careful with my spending habits so we don't cause problems. And I'm going to tell you what's worked in both of these relationships, both of my long-term relationships, and what to stay away from. Now, generally, it's important to understand one thing, and that's when your partner's going out and they're spending a lot of cash and it makes you feel uncomfortable, it's 99.9% not aimed at you, okay? What happens is two people coming into a relationship have a very different background and a very different experience with money. They have different spending habits, they have different understandings of what money is, and they have different priorities and values in life. Some people may be a long-term saver and say we should save up for the future, put everything away into investment and retirement. And the other ones say, hey, look, my priority is to enjoy life right now by buying things, by going on vacations, by having experiences. I don't know if I'm going to live to see another year, week, month, whatever. You don't know what's going to happen. And both of those perspectives are okay. All you have to do is come up with a compromise or a system that works out for the two of you. And here's what works, okay? Now, I wrote these down so I wouldn't forget, so pardon me for looking at my phone here. But the first thing you want to remember is not to criticize your partner for their spending habits. Criticism does nothing but build animosity, raise all their shields, and cause them to go immediately on the defensive. It's not going to get them to change anything. It's not going to get them to see your point of view, and it's definitely not going to be a you versus the two of you versus a problem. It's going to be a you versus them situation, which is the worst way to approach a problem. Instead, what you want to do is you want to say to your partner, hey, let's create a few minutes to talk here. Like, let's come over to a comfortable couch. I want to talk to you about our finances. And it's best to be direct, it's best to be open, but in a loving, nurturing manner. Sit down with them and say, hey, what we need to do is we need to assess what's important to us. You guys together want to focus on your shared goals. So you open the talk about finances and you say, we have different approaches to how we spend money. Instead of saying that I need to change this or you need to change that, what's our goals here? What's important to you? Is it saving? Is it enjoying in the moment? Is it having the next thing? What are your priorities? What are your values? What do you want? You need to get an understanding why they're spending the amount of money that they are. And once you reach that understanding, once you kind of know where they're coming from, it goes a huge way to helping to resolve the problem and put into place a framework that's going to work for the both of you. So when you understand what it is that they want, the next step is to create a budget or a spending framework. A budget is such an overused word, and it sounds so strict and so boring. Excuse me. It's like saying, okay, you know what? I don't like how much you eat. Time for you to go on a diet. Oh God, who wants to hear that, right? No, instead you say, let's form a spending plan. You want to accomplish your goals, and then mention back to them what it is that they said. And keep that in mind too as you go throughout the conversation. And my goals are to save money for healthcare, save money for kids' futures, save money so we can go on a trip next year, save money so I can buy a car, whatever your goals are. Make sure that both of you know what each other's goals are. So when you create this plan, so you know where each other are coming from. That's really important. Then when you start setting up this financial plan, consider, first of all, you have to take out, okay, let me back up a second. We're talking about discretionary spending. That's what you want to plan for. Non-discretionary spending, things like bills, utilities, food, those are things you really can't avoid. The money that's left over is what you have to divvy up with your partner and how you can decide how to spend it. So once you take out the non-discretionary items, you want to subtract that from your available income first. Then you have this pool. Let's start off with the easy number, $1,000 a month extra. Okay. You say, you know what, of that $1,000 a month, how much do you want to spend? Like, what do you want? Listen to them. Then tell them, like, okay, of that extra $1,000 a month, I want to put away $200 or $300 for my vacation idea, or I want to put away $700 for my vacation idea. Are you okay with $300? See if you can reach a compromise. If you can, great. If not, keep talking, keep trying to work through it. Now, if you reach a plan, or even if you don't reach a plan, hopefully you do, but if you don't, there's some other ways to kind of help mitigate this problem. Let's say they say something like, I don't know how much I want to spend. I just want to have the money available in case I need it. That's a very real concern. A lot of people come at the idea of money from a place of independence, security. They want their own security. And it can also be a power dynamic. As a primary wage earner, they may feel, if you're the primary wage earner, they may feel that you have more power over them. And for them to have ready access to money that they don't have to have earmarked for anything or budgeted or put away or even let you know what they spend it on, that can give them the sense of power that they need in a relationship. Okay, great. If that's the case, consider doing something like independent accounts. Say, okay, every month we're going to divvy up our extra money in this way. Here, you can take this chunk of change, you do whatever you want with it. I'll take my chunk of change, I'll do whatever I want with it. And all we have to do is figure out what ratio goes to which person. That way you sort of have an independent financial system. And that worked good for me in my first relationship when I was married to my first wife. I agreed to give her $1,000 a month. Well, I agreed from our family earnings that she would get $1,000 a month, and then I would keep $1,000, and we would do whatever we wanted to with it. I chose to spend mine on certain things that I enjoyed, put some away. She chose to spend hers on things she enjoyed, and put some of her money into her savings account. She developed her own savings account. It worked out really well for many years. Now, it's a good idea to always revisit this, to come back to it and see if it's still working. Maybe have a once a month check-in, or once every 2 month check-in, just whatever you're comfortable with. But revisit it to make sure that there's no animosity building up. You don't want your partner to get frustrated or mad at you, or have their resentment kind of boiling under the surface that you weren't aware of. And when you do this, when you either set up your financial plan or when you come up with individual accounts or whatever the combination is, you want to avoid micromanaging. You want to say, okay, here's your $1,000 a month, as long as you don't spend it on new clothes. That's not going to work. Or you can say, okay, here's your $1,000 a month, but of that you have to spend 75% of it on utilities. Set aside like I said earlier, set aside the non-discretionary shared costs, the things that both of you experience together as a necessity of life: electricity, water, food, pet bills. Set that aside first, and then take what's left over to decide, or to give to each of you, so you can decide how to spend that. That way they won't feel like there's a hidden lure or a hidden hook inside of this amount of money that they're being given, their discretionary spending. You want to avoid any feeling of a trap or any feeling of commitment, especially if it's unequal. You just don't want to do that. Now, there can be a problem, and this happens quite a bit, if you talk about this, if you discuss this in depth, and if you have a heart-to-heart and you feel like there's going to be change, but your partner continues the same spending habits. Talk about a feeling of betrayal. Talk about just this overwhelming irritation, frustration, even sadness or grief. I mean, that happened to me in my first relationship. It happened quite a bit, actually, more than I was comfortable with, which may be one of the reasons why I'm not in that relationship anymore. Yeah, absolutely it is. But if your partner insists on continuing to spend, let's just use a hypothetical, way too much on Amazon, more than they're allocated, they have access to a joint account, or more than you talked about, or more than they agreed on, that's a big problem. And the sooner you resolve it, the better. How do you resolve this? Well, again, don't criticize, don't try to confront, or don't point bills and, hey, you spent $500 on this. You need to go back and you get a deeper understanding of what's going on. Were they living paycheck to paycheck when they were growing up as a kid? Are they needing more happiness in their life? Are they trying to buy happiness? Try to understand where they're coming from with these purchases. Just flat out ask them, like, hey, look, I know that, this spending is happening. Why are you buying all this? Like, I don't want to have that sound like an accusatory tone. I want us to get through this together. I just need to understand where you're coming from. I'm not even saying we're going to change anything. I just need the understanding. And try to get a grip on why they're continuing to do that. It may be some deep-seated personal psychological need. Maybe they've just never had a lot of money before, and it's fun and it's exciting. I was that way for a while. It was fun and exciting. As we go through life, especially the first half of it, we tend to get more and more income. And we go from a place of having less to a place of having more. And as that happens, it's a lot of fun to take advantage of that extra money and to use it and to spend on things that we've always wanted or liked. That'll taper off. Trust me, that will taper off. That desire to spend more will taper off with time, but not for many, many years. As you go through life and mature and advance, you realize that the things that you purchase off Amazon, the car in your garage, aren't as wonderful and as glorious as they may have felt like 10 years ago. They're not the things that are going to make you happy. You can't buy the stuff to improve your life. If you're trying to do that, look somewhere else. You need to change your circumstances. But that's for a whole different video. So again, if your partner's overspending, sit down with them. Talk about the consequences. Maybe they just haven't thought it through. I'm super good at not thinking things through. I'm one of the best slow learners. Not the sharpest tools in the boxes, top of the bell curve in almost anything people you will ever meet. And yeah, sometimes I really don't think of stuff that's completely obvious to others. And they look at me and they think I'm joking. I'm like, no, I really am just that dumb. I have not thought about it. I did not think that this would equal that. That's 100% true for me. And maybe that's the case for them. Maybe they haven't thought about the fact that they're spending too much money now means that your children down the road won't have enough money for an education. Or that if you spend too much this month, then you can't pay for that upcoming surgical visit next month. Or if they spend too much this month, then they can't buy more clothes next month, or you have to tap into a credit. And if you tap into credit, then you have to pay it back someday at a very high interest rate. Maybe they just haven't thought it through. Talk about the consequences with them. But be careful. Don't criticize. Just discuss and learn. This is a learning experience for the both of you. And I'm so sorry for glancing off to the side. I just really don't want to miss anything that I wrote down earlier on my phone. I know it's not polite. Now, if necessary, you may need to take some automatic or mechanical measures to sort of curb spending. You could perhaps set them up with a prepaid credit card if they agree to it. Say, what if they don't have self-control? I have zero self-control for many things. I mean, I love ice cream. There's just no doubt about that. I love playing video games. I absolutely do. I love sitting around and doing nothing for way too much time. And sometimes my self-control is completely non-existent. And that might be the case with them. They see something, they like it, they buy it. I saw a t-shirt with a very wealthy guy. This was on TikTok. He had a huge gun collection that obviously cost literally millions of dollars. And his t-shirt said, "I like it, so I bought it." Great. I mean, if that isn't just the epitome of materialism and excess, I don't know what is, but at least he owns it. So maybe they just don't have the self-control to limit their spending. And if that's the case, there's many, many ways to do this. There's many ways to help them out. There's tools available for this. Like I said, prepaid credit cards. Maybe a checking account where only a certain amount is deposited per month on a certain day. My ex-wife and I had to set that up for her. She actually liked it. It made it a lot easier. She looked at her account. She had money there. She'd spend it. If she didn't, she wouldn't spend it. It was really that easy. It made life a lot simpler for her. And this goes above and beyond the budgeting, because if you have access to $20,000 and you know you're only supposed to spend $350 this month on groceries, boy, spending $450 or $500 doesn't seem like that big of a deal. That's really hard to avoid that temptation. Now, you can, of course, use spending apps. There's money sharing, spending apps. You can, or sharing apps sorry, my goodness, words are hard. Words are almost as hard for me to control as spending. Let's put it that way. But there's apps that you can install that will share your spending with your partner so both of you can keep track of it. Maybe you want 2 eyes on it. Maybe that works for you. Discuss these options with your partner. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that you reach the conclusions and reach the plans together, and it's a joint decision. That way it's not one person forcing their will on the other. The number of times one person coming out and saying and exerting their will on a partner in a relationship and having that be healthy or work out is 0. That will never be good in the long run. But just sit back for a minute and remember this. We're all human. We all have tendencies. We all have temptations. We have different backgrounds. We have different values. We see things differently. And money is one of the easiest ways to get what we want. And there's so many factors that go into it. And I'll tell you one thing, it's never a personal attack, okay? They're not going out and spending money if they're in a long-term relationship with you because they hate you and they want to do something to you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. I mean, they wouldn't be in that relationship. No. You have to dig deeper to find out the real reasons. And once you find out the real reasons of what they're doing, that's when you can start addressing the problem with them. All right, if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I would be happy to lend more advice. This is such a general topic, such a broad, huge topic. I could spend hours talking about this in detail, but who's going to watch that? Unless there's something specific you need to know, right? So if there is, let me know, and I'd be happy to address that. All right, take care.